I'm here to tell you about a couple of things, actually. I want to talk to you first and foremost about my son Finn, the lover of pink that puts me up here in the first place. I want to touch on cancer research, and I want to touch on why we're all here in this ride. So, I want to put you in a time and place that's different than today. It's 10 years ago. For those who don't know, tomorrow night is a full moon. And 10 years ago, in September 2008, I experienced the most important full moon of my life. And at that time, Finn was 3. His twin brother Baird was 3. His big sister Sarah was 6. Finn had been diagnosed with cancer at the age of 21 months with rhabdomyosarcoma. In April of 2008, we had heard the word incurable. And by August, the tumor was in his original site. There was a hole in his back where I could take cancer fluid out of. There was cancer in his bones, in his liver. He was on a liter of methadone a week. He maxed out on fentanyl patches. But his most important pain relief was walking. He loved walking. And if you found a way to him, he would hold your hand and he would walk with you. And Finn had very special hands. So if we could go to picture 1, please. This is a full moon taken in September 2008, 133 full moons ago. It's the last full moon that Finn experienced. And at that time in our lives, the world had collapsed into one thing that was really important. Family and smiles, and how many could we get? And around 10 o'clock that evening, Finn decided he wanted to go for a walk. We sort of ventured out on the driveway and ended up just walking up our street. If we could go to picture 2, please. And this is Finn and Sarah and I 10 years ago, heading out on the street. Baird had already crashed for the night, and Finn decided he needed to move. We didn't know where we were going, why we were going, we just knew we were. Sarah jumped in with us, and as I said, we headed up the street. And as we walked up the street, I talked about the full moon. Talked about what it meant. I talked about the stars and the constellations, those I could identify. Talked about how far away those stars were. And Sarah, at 6, asked me tons of questions. Some I could answer, some I couldn't. Scientist young. And Finn had this way of being, he wouldn't ask questions, but he would listen. His whole body would listen. And you could tell he was just absorbing everything you would say. And when he was doing that, I felt compelled to talk, and that's what I did. And so we walked, and I talked, and he listened. And for the full moon since, I tried to walk again. Search for something that's not there, something that can't be. And that was 10 years ago. And if I could ask my siblings to join me. I think it was about 8 months after that walk. 3 months later, 2 friends asked me to do this thing called the ride. It was new. And so a bunch of us jumped on a bike and we rode to Seattle. And that was June 2009. Do you have the beats? And 1 month later, Our mom was diagnosed with cancer because cancer is cruel and doesn't care what you do. And to give you some context, I wanted to show you something. These are Finn's courage beads. Every treatment he received, he would get a bead. This is what Finn went through. This is what many of you in this room have gone through. So, 1 month later, my mom was diagnosed. 5 months later, my mom was dead. Our mom was dead. And if we look around this room, all of us know the feeling of empty chairs at empty tables. People who should be here with us. People we love. You know, not only a mom, a nephew, a son, a daughter, sister. And we fight for that. We fight to change that because we can, and we have a role in it. But we not only fight to bring them back, we fight to change this fucking thing. Right? We fight to change what people go through, what they have to suffer through. Because we can. So you've heard some tonight about the changes in cancer research. And the way I look at it, you know, tomorrow we were supposed to ride to hope, but we were never going to get there tomorrow. And tomorrow we were going to get to a place. Hope is a destination that is beyond tomorrow. Right? It's got way stations along the way. It's got changes along the way. It's got changes in the way our people that we love go through cancer treatment, but we were never getting to hope tomorrow. It's going to take more time. But things are happening, right? When people talk about, when you hear Bernie Eagle, when you hear in the video, when you hear from the scientists about the exciting stuff that's happening. In 2008, when Finn was palliative, there were no treatment options left. That's not true today. Right? There was a little girl in Philadelphia who was the first person to receive a type of treatment that saved her life when she'd been told to go home to die. Now, 6 years later, there's 400 plus kids alive because of that treatment. Right? The cure rate for metastatic rhabdomyosarcoma, which is what Finn had, is 0.
Shut up.
That's changing. There's a child alive today in Texas who has metastatic rhabdomyosarcoma, right? And that's scientists we interact with. Dr. Paul Sorensen, who you saw in the video, rides with Team Finn. He was involved in a major scientific breakthrough in 1998 for a drug or a genetic fusion that's turned into a drug called Loxo. That drug was taken to clinical trials, which you heard Dr. Bernie Eagle talk about. That was found in a very rare type of pediatric cancer. When they took it to clinical trials, it had 80% response rate in 17 different types of cancer, right? 24% complete response for patients out of treatment options. That initial finding by Dr. Paul was in 1998. And what this ride has allowed to happen is to advance the scientific findings to the point where they could do the clinical trials, where we are months away from that drug being approved by Health Canada. Right? Cancer research is hard. It's like climbing that hill over and over and over and over again, right? And you are surrounded in this room by world-class science and world-class scientists. Dr. Paul, David Huntsman, Bernie Agel, Kim Chi, Howie Lim, Brad Nelson, Christian Steiler. I'm missing some. They're all people here. That's just the people here. The thing about BC is we punch well above our weight in cancer research, so the investment you're making with your pedals are going to change people's lives, right? And along the way, it's changing our lives. We could go to picture 4. This is me in 2009, standing on this stage with a beautiful young lady. And if we could go to the next picture. This is Sarah, 6 years old, who was with me on that moonwalk in 2008. Sarah, if you could join me. So I spent a lot of time proud, and today was one of those times. Sarah turned 16 12 days ago. She is the youngest rider with us this weekend. She told me 10 years ago she wanted to do this ride. And I used to say, I'd love that, but I don't want you to, because I want it to be done. But it's not done, right? Sarah rode because we're not done. We're not done this year, and we're not going to be done next year. This is Baird, who also was with me on the stage in 2009. This is Finn's twin brother. He's now 13, and if he wants to, he can join me in 3 years. Next slide. This is Baird and Finn. Finn loved to ride. He was fast. He loved this little yellow car. He loved going downhill. Finn doesn't get to ride. He never gets that chance. But we have a chance to give other kids an opportunity to ride. You know, and the fuel that makes the cancer research go, the risk capital, the things that allow these scientists to do the things that are outside the box that can change things, is us. You know, I had this vision of trying to invite all the team captains up here, and I ran out of time, but this is about us. This is about everyone. This is about all the colors, right? This is about all the miles. This is about all the donors. And it's hard. It's physically hard, it's emotionally hard, it's draining. But it's worth it. There's moments, you know, watching your daughter pedal, you know, cheering on a team hoping they can get to $1 million, watching the leaderboard and it's not your team. The emotion of pink. They're gifts here for all of us. And I hope you embrace them. And I hope you realize and appreciate the difference you're making for those we love. Thank you.